The idol smash imagined a world saturated with the sacred, where every tree, every river, every mountain pulsed with divine presence. But this sacredness was fractured, dispersed, a chaotic multiplicity mirroring the turbulent human heart. The gods were legion, each demanding their due, each a reflection of our own insatiable desires and fears. They were projections of our own limitations, magnified and deified. Before the thunderous declaration from Sinai, "I am," the world was a cacophony of competing voices, a marketplace of spiritual commodities. The human spirit, adrift in this sea of deities, sought solace, sought meaning, but found only echoes of its own fragmented self. The gods demanded tribute, not transformation, appeasement, not communion. They were mirrors of our own brokenness, not bridges to wholeness. This was the world into which the radical notion of one God erupted, a singular, transcendent reality that shattered the polytheistic cosmos. It was not merely a numerical shift, a reduction from many to one. It was an ontological earthquake, a redefinition of the very nature of being. I am was not just a name, it was an assertion of absolute existence, a declaration that all other so-called gods were mere shadows, illusions, phantasms born of human imagination. Consider the scene on Mount Carmel. Elijah, a solitary figure against the multitude, a lone voice against the chorus of Baal's priests. It was not a contest of power, but a confrontation between truth and illusion. The priests, with their frenzied rituals and desperate incantations, could not conjure even a flicker of divine fire. Their gods were silent, impotent, mere idols fashioned from wood and stone. Elijah, in contrast, stood in the presence of the one who is, the God who transcends all human categories and creations. His prayer was not a plea, but a declaration, a confident affirmation of the one who answers. The fire that descended was not a mere natural phenomenon, but a divine signature, a testament to the radical singularity of God. This was the revolution, not a shift in religious practice, but a transformation of human consciousness. The one God was not merely another deity among many, but the source of all being, the ground of all reality. To worship this one was to acknowledge the derivative nature of all else, to recognize that every created thing, every human endeavor, finds its meaning and purpose in relation to this ultimate reality. The implications were profound. If there is only one God, then all humanity is united under a single divine parentage. If there is only one truth, then all human knowledge must ultimately converge. If there is only one good, then all human actions must be measured against this absolute standard. This radical monotheism, born in the crucible of the desert, challenged the very foundations of ancient empires. It undermined the divine pretensions of kings and pharaohs, exposing their claims to divinity as mere hubris. It liberated the human spirit from the tyranny of capricious deities, offering instead a relationship with a God who is both transcendent and immanent, both beyond us and within us. The journey from the abyss of many to the ascent to one was not merely a theological evolution. It was a spiritual pilgrimage, a movement from fragmentation to unity, from chaos to order, from illusion to truth. It was a call to recognize the one who is the source of all being, the ground of all love, the horizon of all hope. It is a call that echoes still, inviting us to abandon the idols of our own making and to embrace the one who alone can satisfy the deepest longings of the human heart. The text in context. To truly grasp the seismic shift heralded by the First Commandment, We must immerse ourselves in the spiritual landscape of the ancient world. It was a world teeming with gods, a vibrant tapestry of divine personalities, each with their own domain, their own appetites, their own capricious whims. The Egyptians, with their pantheon of animal-headed deities, saw the divine reflected in the rhythms of the Nile, in the cycles of life and death. The Babylonians, with their astral gods, sought to chart the course of human destiny in the movements of the stars. These gods, though powerful, were ultimately reflections of the human condition, magnified and projected onto the cosmos. They were born of our fears, our desires, our anxieties. They were bound by the same limitations that plagued us: mortality, rivalry, and the insatiable thirst for power. They were, in essence, the ultimate expressions of our own fractured selves. Into this world, saturated with the divine plural, came the thunderous pronouncement from Sinai, "You shall have no other gods before me." This was not merely a declaration of numerical superiority, a claim that one God was more powerful than the others. It was a radical assertion of ontological singularity, a claim that the very nature of reality itself was grounded in one source, one sovereign. The First Commandment is not simply monotheism, it is, as some have termed it, metatheism. It transcends the mere assertion of one God among many. It declares that the one God is the ground of all being, the source of all existence. This is not a God who competes with other gods. This is the God who makes possible the very concept of godhood. Consider the stark contrast between the ornate temples of Egypt and Babylon and the desolate majesty of Sinai. The temples, with their elaborate rituals and opulent offerings, were monuments to human attempts to appease and manipulate the divine. Sinai, in its austere simplicity, was the stage for a raw, unmediated encounter with the one who transcends all human constructs. Yahweh, the God of Sinai, does not demand tribute to control chaos, as did the gods of the ancient Near East. He does not seek to impose order upon a recalcitrant cosmos. Rather, he invites us to align ourselves with the cosmic order that flows from his own being, an order rooted in love, justice, and truth. This is a God who does not merely exist alongside the world, but who sustains it from within. He is not a cosmic puppeteer, manipulating the strings of fate, but the very ground upon which all of reality stands. To worship this God is not to appease a capricious deity, but to enter into a relationship with the source of all goodness, all beauty, all truth. The First Commandment is not a restrictive decree, but a liberating invitation. It frees us from the tyranny of competing idols, from the endless pursuit of fleeting pleasures and illusory powers. It calls us to recognize the one who alone can satisfy the deepest longings of the human heart, the one who alone can give meaning and purpose to our lives. It is a call to recognize that every created thing, every human achievement, every moment of beauty and joy finds its ultimate source and significance in the one God. It is a call to live in accordance with the divine order, to reflect the divine love, to embody the divine justice. The First Commandment is not merely a historical relic. It is a timeless invitation to embrace the radical revolution of one, to abandon the idols of our own making, and to align our lives with the one who is the source of all being, the ground of all love, the horizon of all hope. Medieval insights. Aquinas and divine simplicity. The radical claim of the First Commandment found its most profound articulation in the medieval mind, particularly in the luminous thought of Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas, a giant of intellectual and spiritual synthesis, peered into the heart of divine revelation and emerged with a vision of God that transformed not only theology, but the very fabric of Western civilization. Aquinas, grappling with the implications of God's oneness, articulated the doctrine of divine simplicity. This doctrine, far from being a mere philosophical abstraction, is a profound statement about the very nature of God. It asserts that in God, essence and existence are identical, that God is not composed of parts or attributes distinct from his being. God is his goodness, his truth, his beauty. He is not merely good, true, and beautiful. He is goodness itself, truth itself, beauty itself. This radical simplicity has profound implications for our understanding of worship. To worship God, then, is not merely to acknowledge his existence or to offer him praise. It is to orient our entire being, our entire society, toward the transcendent realities that flow from his very nature. It is to seek goodness, truth, and beauty in all things, to cultivate them in our own lives and in the life of our communities. Aquinas, with his characteristic clarity, recognized that a society's gods shape its soul. He understood that the objects of our worship determine the contours of our culture, the values that guide our actions, the aspirations that drive our endeavors. Polytheism, with its multiplicity of gods, inevitably leads to a fragmentation of truth, a blurring of moral boundaries, a dissipation of human energies in the pursuit of fleeting and often contradictory. Monotheism, in contrast, with its focus on the one God, provides a unifying principle, a transcendent horizon that gives coherence and meaning to all of human existence. It calls us to seek unity in diversity, to find harmony in the midst of complexity. Consider the architectural marvels of medieval Europe, the Gothic cathedrals that soared heavenward, their spires piercing the sky, their stained glass windows bathing the interior in a celestial light. These cathedrals were not merely buildings. They were theological statements in stone and glass. They embodied the medieval vision of a unified cosmos, a cosmos reflecting the divine unity. The intricate tracery of the rose windows, the soaring vaults that converged at a single point, the harmonious interplay of light and shadow, all these elements spoke of a world ordered and sustained by the one God. They were invitations to lift our gaze from the earthly to the heavenly, to contemplate the eternal realities that transcend the fleeting phenomena of our daily lives. Contrast this with the Roman Pantheon. While impressive in its scale and grandeur, the Pantheon reflects the fragmented worldview of polytheism. Its vast dome, open to the sky, suggests a multiplicity of divine forces, a cosmos without a single unifying center. The First Commandment, then, is not merely a theological proposition. It is a blueprint for building a just and harmonious society. It calls us to create institutions, laws, and customs that reflect the divine unity, that promote the common good, that foster the flourishing of all human beings. It is a call to recognize that true freedom is found not in the pursuit of individual desires, but in the alignment of our wills with the divine will, in the service of the one who is the source of all goodness, all truth, all beauty. It is a call to build a civilization that reflects the divine image, a civilization that is a testament to the radical revolution of one. The death of sacred violence. The ancient world, steeped in polytheistic ritual, was a world awash in blood. The gods, capricious and demanding, were often appeased through the most horrific acts of violence. Carthaginian parents offered their own children as burnt offerings, their tiny bodies consumed by the flames. a desperate attempt to avert divine wrath. Aztec priests, their hands stained crimson, ripped the still-beating hearts from their victims, believing that only human sacrifice could sustain the cosmic order. These acts of sacred violence, though repulsive to our modern sensibilities, were deeply embedded in the religious logic of the ancient world. They were expressions of a fundamental belief that the gods were rivals, constantly vying for power, demanding tribute, and capable of inflicting unimaginable suffering. The human condition, in this worldview, was one of perpetual fear, a desperate attempt to placate these capricious deities. Into this world of ritualized violence, the radical monotheism of the Judeo-Christian tradition introduced a seismic shift. The concept of one God, a God of love and mercy, challenged the very foundations of sacred violence. The God of Israel, revealed on Sinai, did not demand blood sacrifices to appease his wrath. He demanded justice, mercy, and love. But it was in the ultimate sacrifice of Christ on the cross that the logic of sacred violence was decisively overturned. Christ's death, a once-for-all offering, shattered the myth that the gods crave violence. It revealed the true nature of God, not as a demanding tyrant, but as a self-sacrificing lover, willing to bear the sins of humanity. René Girard, the brilliant scholar of anthropology and religion, saw in this event the scapegoat mechanism unmasked. He argued that human societies, plagued by mimetic desire and rivalry, have historically sought to resolve their conflicts by scapegoating a single victim, projecting their collective guilt and violence onto an innocent other. This scapegoat mechanism, Girard argued, was the foundation of ancient religious rituals, including human sacrifice. Christ's crucifixion, however, exposed the lie at the heart of this mechanism. It revealed the innocence of the victim and the guilt of the perpetrators. It demonstrated that true divinity is not found in the infliction of violence, but in the embrace of suffering, in the offering of unconditional love. The radical monotheism of Christianity, therefore, brought about a profound transformation in the understanding of sacrifice. It shifted the focus from the appeasement of angry gods to the imitation of a loving God. It called humanity to abandon the cycle of violence and to embrace a path of forgiveness and reconciliation. The implications of this shift were revolutionary. If there is only one God, a God of love, then all human beings are created in His image, deserving of dignity and respect. If God does not crave violence, then neither should we. If God offers forgiveness, then we are called to forgive others. This understanding of God as love, revealed in the sacrifice of Christ, laid the foundation for the development of human rights, the abolition of slavery, the condemnation of torture, and the gradual erosion of all forms of sacred violence. It challenged the ancient belief that some human beings were inherently more worthy than others, that some lives were expendable in the service of the gods or the state. The death of sacred violence, therefore, was not merely a theological proposition. It was a societal earthquake, a radical transformation of human consciousness. It was a testament to the power of one God, the God of love, to shatter the chains of fear and violence and to usher in a new era of human dignity and compassion. Imago Dei, the seed of human dignity. The radical monotheism of the Judeo-Christian tradition did not merely reshape the landscape of religious belief. It planted a seed, a revolutionary concept that would transform the very fabric of human society. The Imago Dei, the image of God, the declaration in Genesis 1:27, so God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God He created them, was not simply a poetic flourish. It was a profound ontological statement, a declaration that every human being, regardless of their social status, their ethnicity, or their gender, bears the indelible mark of the divine. This concept that all humanity derives from one source, one creator, implied that all share an inherent dignity, a sacred worth that transcends any earthly distinction. In a world where hierarchies were rigidly enforced, where some were considered more human than others, the Imago Dei was a radical leveling force, a divine declaration of equality. Augustine, that towering figure of early Christian thought, grasped the profound implications of this. He understood that to love God was to love what God loves, to cherish what God cherishes. He wrote, "In loving God, we learn to love whom He loves." This love, rooted in the divine, extended to all human beings, recognizing in each a reflection of the divine image. The Imago Dei challenged the very foundations of ancient empires, the claims of pharaohs and Caesars to divine authority. It asserted that no earthly ruler, no matter how powerful, could claim absolute dominion over their fellow human beings. All were siblings under one Father. All were bearers of the divine image. This concept became the DNA of human rights, the foundational principle upon which the modern understanding of human dignity is built. It fueled the abolitionist movement, the civil rights movement, the struggle for women's suffrage, and countless other movements for social justice. Consider the powerful words of Martin Luther King Jr. echoing across the centuries. "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." King's dream, rooted in the Judeo-Christian tradition, was a passionate plea to recognize the inherent dignity of every human being, to acknowledge the Imago Dei in every face. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations in 1948, stands as a testament to the enduring power of this concept. Its articles affirming the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family are a secular echo of the ancient biblical truth. The Imago Dei is not merely a theological abstraction, it is a call to action, a mandate to build a world where human dignity is respected and protected. It compels us to challenge injustice, to fight against oppression, to work towards a society where all human beings can flourish. It reminds us that every act of kindness, every gesture of compassion, every effort to promote justice is an affirmation of the divine image, a reflection of the one who created us in his likeness. It is a call to live out the radical revolution of one, to build a world where the dignity of every human being is recognized and celebrated, a world that reflects the glory of the one who created us all. The pantheon of progress, the ancient temptation to idolatry, the human tendency to fashion gods from the things of this world has not vanished with the passage of time. It has merely assumed new forms, cloaked in the seductive language of progress and modernity. We may no longer carve idols from wood and stone, but we have erected a new pantheon, a collection of modern deities that demand our devotion and shape our desires. We have swapped Baal for brands, investing our identity and our sense of worth in the fleeting allure of consumer goods. We have replaced Moloch with the relentless demands of the market, sacrificing our time, our relationships, and even our well-being on the altar of economic success. We have transformed technology, a tool meant to serve humanity, into a god demanding our constant attention, our perpetual engagement, our very souls. Augustine, that wise observer of the human heart, warned us of the dangers of disordered loves. He understood that idolatry is not merely the worship of false gods, it is the worship of the instrument as the end, the elevation of created things to the status of ultimate reality. Technology, wealth, nation, all these are good in their proper place, instruments to be used for the flourishing of humanity. But when they are absolutized, when they become the ultimate objects of our devotion, they become idols, demanding sacrifices and distorting our perception of reality. The stock market, with its fluctuating numbers and its promises of wealth, becomes a god, demanding our constant vigilance, our unwavering faith in its power to deliver prosperity. Social media, with its endless feeds and its promise of connection, becomes a god, demanding our constant engagement, our perpetual validation. Nationalism, with its symbols of identity and its promises of belonging, becomes a god, demanding our unwavering loyalty, our unquestioning allegiance. These modern idols, like their ancient counterparts, promise fulfillment but deliver only emptiness. They offer fleeting pleasures but leave us with a gnawing sense of dissatisfaction. They promise security but leave us vulnerable to the inevitable fluctuations of the market, the fickle nature of social media trends, the shifting sands of political ideology. The First Commandment, therefore, is not merely a historical relic. It is a timeless warning against the perennial human temptation to idolatry. It challenges us to examine our own hearts, to discern the true objects of our devotion, to ask ourselves, what do we truly worship? What do we truly value? The First Commandment poses a fundamental question. Does your God demand sacrifices or desire disciples? Do the objects of your devotion demand that you sacrifice your time, your relationships, your very soul on their altar? Or do they invite you to become a disciple, to follow a path of love, justice, and truth? The modern idols demand sacrifices. They demand our time, our attention, our energy, our very lives. They demand that we conform to their demands, that we sacrifice our individuality, our integrity, our very humanity on their altar. The one God, in contrast, desires disciples. He invites us to follow Him, to learn from Him, to become like Him. He invites us to a relationship of love, a communion of hearts, a sharing of life. He does not demand sacrifices, but offers the ultimate sacrifice, the sacrifice of His own Son for the salvation of humanity. It is a call to recognize the true source of our being, the true object of our devotion, the one God who alone can satisfy the deepest longings of the human heart. It is a call to live in accordance with the divine order, to reflect the divine love, to embody the divine justice, to become true disciples of the one who is the source of all being, the ground of all love, the horizon of all hope. Aquinas meets AI, the quest for ultimate truth. In the labyrinth of our digital age, where algorithms whisper promises of omniscience and data streams become our new oracles, the voice of Thomas Aquinas echoes with a timeless wisdom. He reminds us that all truth, every scintilla of understanding, every spark of insight, ultimately participates in the divine Logos, the eternal Word of God. This Logos, the very architecture of reality, is not a human invention, a mere construct of our minds, but the very ground of being, the source from which all truth flows. We find ourselves adrift in a sea of information, where deepfakes and manipulated narratives sow confusion, and the very concept of objective truth seems to dissolve into a miasma of subjective opinions. In this maelstrom of relativism, the radical insistence of monotheism, that truth is not constructed but discovered, becomes a lifeline, a beacon in the storm. It is a reminder that there is a reality beyond our own limited perspectives, a truth that transcends the shifting sands of human opinion. The rise of artificial intelligence, with its awe-inspiring capacity to process and analyze data, to discern patterns and generate predictions, presents us with a profound challenge. Can these machines, these intricate networks of algorithms, truly grasp the nature of truth? Or are they merely sophisticated tools, capable of manipulating information, but incapable of comprehending its deeper meaning? Aquinas, with his keen intellect and his deep understanding of the human mind, would likely approach this question with a profound sense of awe and a healthy dose of caution. He would recognize the immense potential of AI as a tool for exploring the vast expanse of the natural world, for unraveling the mysteries of the cosmos, for illuminating the intricate workings of the human body. But he would also remind us that truth is not merely a collection of data points, a series of logical propositions. It is a living reality, a dynamic interplay of intellect and intuition, of reason and revelation. It is a journey of discovery, a quest for understanding that engages the whole person, mind, heart, and soul. Aquinas, with his profound understanding of the human person, would stress that true knowledge is not merely a matter of intellectual assent. It is a matter of love, of a deep and abiding commitment to the good, the true, and the beautiful. It is a matter of aligning our minds and hearts with the divine Logos, the source of all wisdom and all truth. In the face of the seductive allure of technological omniscience, the First Commandment stands as a bulwark against the encroachment of post-truth chaos. It reminds us that there is a truth that transcends the limitations of human reason, a truth that is not subject to the whims of human opinion or the manipulations of algorithmic bias. The First Commandment, with its unwavering insistence on the one God, the source of all being and all truth, provides a North Star for societies lost in the digital deserts of our time. It calls us to navigate the complexities of the information age with wisdom and discernment, to cultivate habits of critical thinking, to seek out reliable sources of information, to embrace the humility of recognizing the limits of our own understanding. It invites us to embark on a spiritual pilgrimage, a journey of discovery that leads us beyond the fleeting illusions of the digital world to the enduring reality of the divine Logos. It is a call to awaken from the slumber of technological enchantment, to recognize the true source of our being, the true object of our devotion, the one God who alone can satisfy the deepest longings of the human heart. The First Commandment, then, is not merely a relic of a bygone era. It is a timeless invitation to embrace the radical revolution of one, to abandon the idols of our own making, and to align our lives with the one who is the source of all being, the ground of all love, the horizon of all hope, the common good. Medieval blueprints. The medieval period, often romanticized as a time of faith and chivalry, was a complex era, grappling with the challenges of building a society grounded in the principles of Christian monotheism. While far from perfect, with its own share of injustices and inequalities, the medieval world offered a fascinating experiment in social architecture, an attempt to translate the abstract principles of faith into the concrete realities of daily life. Cathedrals, those magnificent expressions of medieval faith, were not merely places of worship. They were communal projects built through the collective labor of countless individuals. Artisans, masons, and craftsmen working in guilds and monasteries poured their talents and their faith into these towering edifices, creating spaces that reflected the divine unity. Each stone, Each piece of stained glass was a testament to the interconnectedness of the human community, a reflection of the divine order that undergirds all of reality. The medieval guilds, with their emphasis on craftsmanship, ethical conduct, and mutual support, provided a model for economic life that transcended the pursuit of individual profit. They fostered a sense of shared responsibility, a commitment to excellence, and a recognition of the dignity of work as a participation in the divine creative act. Monasteries, those quiet havens of contemplation and study, served as centers of learning and cultural production. Monks, dedicated to a life of prayer and contemplation, devoted themselves to copying ancient manuscripts, preserving the wisdom of the past for future generations. They cultivated the arts and sciences, fostering a spirit of inquiry and a love for beauty, all in the service of God and the enrichment of human life. Figures like Hildegard of Bingen, a visionary abbess and polymath, demonstrated the profound ways in which faith could inspire creativity and intellectual exploration. Her writings on theology, medicine, and music, suffused with a mystical vision of the divine, testify to the vibrant intellectual and spiritual life that flourished within the medieval monastic tradition. Aquinas, building upon the insights of his predecessors, argued that the First Commandment, with its emphasis on the one God, provides the foundation for the common good. He understood that a society truly ordered to truth, a society that seeks to reflect the divine order, will be a society that fosters the flourishing of all its members. He recognized that the pursuit of individual gain, unchecked by moral considerations, could lead to social fragmentation and injustice. He emphasized the importance of solidarity, of recognizing our interconnectedness, of working for the well-being of the whole community. For Aquinas, a society ordered to truth becomes a sacrament of God's kingdom, a visible sign of the divine love that unites all humanity. It is a society where justice prevails, where mercy is extended to all, where the needs of the poor and vulnerable are met with compassion and care. The medieval world, with all its imperfections, offers a glimpse of what such a society might look like. It reminds us that the pursuit of the common good is not merely a political or economic endeavor. It is a spiritual journey, a call to align our individual desires with the divine will, to build a society that reflects the image of the one God who created us all. The First Commandment, therefore, is not merely a religious precept. It is a blueprint for social transformation, a call to build a world where justice and peace reign, where the dignity of every human being is respected, and where the love of God is reflected in the love we show for one another. The radical singularity and human existence, the radical declaration of one God, beyond its social and ethical implications, fundamentally reshapes our understanding of human existence itself. In a world saturated with competing narratives and fragmented identities, the First Commandment offers a profound sense of unity and purpose. Augustine, wrestling with the restless heart, famously declared, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you." This restlessness, this yearning for something beyond the transient pleasures of the world, is a universal human experience. It is a testament to the inherent longing for the one who is the source of all being, the ground of all love, the horizon of all hope. The First Commandment, then, is not merely a prohibition against false gods. It is an invitation to embrace our true identity, to recognize that our deepest longings can only be satisfied by the one who created us in his image. It is a call to abandon the fleeting idols of our own making and to seek the enduring reality of the divine presence. Kierkegaard, the passionate explorer of the human soul, understood the existential implications of this choice. He recognized that the leap of faith, the radical commitment to the one God, is not a mere intellectual assent, but a profound act of self-surrender, a willingness to relinquish control and to embrace the uncertainty of faith. He understood that true faith is not a comfortable certainty, but a passionate engagement with the unknown, a willingness to risk everything for the sake of the one who alone can give meaning and purpose to our lives. The First Commandment, in this light, becomes a call to authentic existence, a call to embrace the radical freedom of choosing the one God above all else. The pursuit of meaning in a world often characterized by nihilism and despair is a fundamental human quest. The First Commandment offers a profound answer to this quest, a grounding in the one who is the source of all meaning, all purpose, all hope. It reminds us that our lives are not meaningless accidents, but part of a grand narrative, a divine drama that unfolds across the ages. The concept of one God, as revealed in the Judeo-Christian tradition, also challenges the prevailing notion of individual autonomy. It reminds us that we are not isolated individuals, adrift in a meaningless cosmos, but part of an interconnected web of relationships, bound together by our common origin in the one God. This interconnectedness, this sense of belonging to a larger whole, is essential for human flourishing. The First Commandment, therefore, is not merely a religious precept. It is a call to build communities of love and solidarity, communities that reflect the unity of the divine. The radical singularity of God, therefore, has profound implications for our understanding of reality, ethics, and the pursuit of meaning. It challenges us to transcend the limitations of our own perspectives, to embrace the unity of all being, to seek the one who alone can satisfy the deepest longings of the human heart. It is a call to live in accordance with the divine order, to reflect the divine love, to embody the divine justice. It is a call to embrace the radical revolution of one, to abandon the idols of our own making, and to align our lives with the one who is the source of all being, the ground of all love, the horizon of all hope. Modern applications. Justice flowing from oneness. The legacy of monotheism extends far beyond the confines of religious institutions, weaving itself into the very fabric of our understanding of justice, human rights, and our shared responsibility for the well-being of our planet. The radical notion of one God, the source of all being, implies a profound interconnectedness, a recognition that we are all part of a single human family. This understanding of our shared humanity has profound implications for our response to the pressing challenges of our time. Climate change, with its devastating consequences, is not merely an environmental issue, it is a moral imperative. The First Commandment, with its emphasis on the one God, the creator and sustainer of all life, demands that we act as responsible stewards of the earth, ensuring that future generations inherit a planet that is not ravaged by our own greed and indifference. Similarly, racism, with its insidious legacy of discrimination and violence, stands as a direct violation of the Imago Dei, the recognition that all human beings are created in the image of God. The First Commandment, with its insistence on the equality of all before the divine, calls us to dismantle the structures of racism, to tear down the walls of prejudice, and to build a society where justice and equity prevail. Poverty, with its pervasive impact on human dignity and well-being, is not merely an economic issue. It is a theological crisis. The First Commandment, with its emphasis on the common good, demands that we address the root causes of poverty, to ensure that all members of the human family have access to the basic necessities of life, including food, shelter, and health care. Pope Francis, in his encyclical Laudato Si', echoes this profound sense of interconnectedness, declaring, "We are one human family, and as such we are called to share our common home." He reminds us that there are no frontiers or barriers to this duty, that our responsibility extends to all of creation, to all of humanity. The First Commandment, therefore, is not merely a religious precept, it is a call to action, a mandate to build a more just and equitable world. It challenges us to confront the pressing challenges of our time, from climate change to poverty to racial injustice, with a renewed sense of urgency and a commitment to the common good. It reminds us that we are not isolated individuals, but members of a global community, bound together by our shared humanity, our shared responsibility for the well-being of our planet, and our shared destiny as children of the one God. The First Commandment, in its radical simplicity, offers a profound vision of hope, a vision of a world where justice and peace reign, where the dignity of every human being is respected, and where the love of God is reflected in the love we show for one another. It is a call to embrace the radical revolution of one, to build a world that reflects the glory of the one who created us all. The unfinished revolution. The First Commandment, far from being a relic of a bygone era, remains a potent and urgent call to action, a rallying cry for those who yearn for a world transformed. It is a challenge to dismantle the idols of our own making, the idols of greed, of fear, of division, and to embrace the one who alone can satisfy the deepest longings of the human heart. As we navigate the treacherous waters of the 21st century, grappling with the complexities of artificial intelligence, the specter of pandemics, and the corrosive forces of political polarization, the voice from Sinai echoes with renewed urgency. Choose your God wisely. What do you truly worship? What do you truly value? What do you truly sacrifice upon the altar of your desires? In a world fractured by ideologies, torn apart by conflict, and drowning in a sea of information, the one who spoke at Sinai whispers still, "Return to me, and I will make you one." This is not a call for uniformity, but a call to unity, a recognition that despite our differences, we are all children of the same divine source, bound together by the invisible threads of love and compassion. The revolution of one, begun on the slopes of Mount Sinai, is an unfinished project. It is a revolution that begins anew in every heart that answers, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is one." It is a revolution that demands our participation, our commitment, our willingness to choose life over death, love over fear, unity over division. It is a revolution that calls upon us to build bridges of understanding, to tear down the walls of prejudice, to heal the wounds of the past, and to work towards a future where justice and peace reign. It is a call to embrace the radical singularity of God, to recognize our interconnectedness, and to build a world that reflects the glory of the one who created us all. Call to action. Thank you for joining us on this profound exploration of the radical revolution of one. If this journey into the heart of monotheism, its historical impact, and its modern-day relevance has resonated with your spirit, we invite you to become a part of the Hope in God community. Subscribe to delve deeper into theological reflections, share your own moments of encountering grace, and let us walk together, finding hope and meaning in every step of our shared pilgrimage towards a deeper understanding of the one who is. In a world searching for unity, let's rediscover the power of "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is one." Join us, and together let's build a community rooted in truth, justice, and love. This call to action is more direct, and it utilizes the final line of the video to help connect the user to the material. It also emphasizes the community aspect and the journey of discovery.